The Toronto Blue Jays have been linked to Kansas City Royals reliever Scott Barlow. He was dominant last season and would be the final piece to help the Blue Jays complete their bullpen. He is right-handed, but is a pure pitcher and would definitely be a perfect fit in that Jays bullpen. And finally, it has been confirmed that Buck Martinez will be back in the booth next season with Dan Shulman. So we'll have that and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. We want to thank you all for helping us hit 6,000 subscribers. We weren't sure when it was going to happen, but we want to thank you all for your continued support. Hopefully, we could keep it going into the season and into 2024 as well.
Yeah, we're on the road to 7K now, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. And like you said, thanks again for all the support to allow us to hit 6K. But let's get into the first topic. We finally have some more rumors and speculation on the trade market for the Blue Jays. So potential trade could be incoming between obviously the Blue Jays and the Royals. Have a lot of screenshots to go over, so we're going to let's just delve right into it. This is from Bob Nightingale saying the Kansas City Royals have been busy on the trade market and still have a couple more deals they're lining up now. Stay tuned. That was yesterday, followed up by MLB Scoops tweeting, Blue Jays have discussed a deal for Royals Scott Barlow, and also followed up by another reporter, or a rumor guy saying the Detroit Tigers and Kansas City Royals are two teams very interested in Blue Jays Kevin Biggio. So these two sources, MLB Scoops and Line, they're kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. However, Bob Nightingale is usually right, and there's just tons of smoke about the Blue Jays trading for Scott Barlow, so we figured we'd cover it. What are your initial thoughts on a potential trade? And we'll go over what a trade may look like, but I guess your thoughts on Scott Barlow so far.
I mean, everyone's been lobbying for velocity, velocity, velocity out of the bullpen. And I'm sorry to break it to all of you, but it's hard to come. It's hard to come by. And guys that throw 100 miles an hour, that have control, that strike a lot of guys out, they're not necessarily available on the trade market. They're not available on the free agent market because they are swooped up right away. So it's not necessarily realistic to expect that out of the Blue Jays to go out and get a guy like I don't know, Johan Duran or Emmanuel Clase. Those guys are just few and far between. So Scott Barlow, I see a lot of people complaining about his velocity or lack thereof. He averages 94 miles an hour on the fastball, but the guy's a workhorse. He has been for the last 4 seasons. So in the last three out of the last 4 years, he's been over 70 innings pitched, which is in the upper echelon of the league. And in 2020, in the shortened season, he threw 30 innings. So the guy is just a workhorse. You can rely on him for a lot of innings out of the bullpen, and he strikes guys out. He's got a great mix. He's just a great pitcher with good control and would be the perfect addition to the Jays bullpen.
Yeah, and like we're going to discuss and show you shortly, his peripherals are unbelievable, some of the best in the MLB, and the velocity, even though it's not there number wise, given his peripherals, it looks like he could. His fastball looks like it's 99 miles an hour. So we'll pop this up now, and this is against left-handed batters. Obviously, he is a right-handed pitcher, so you'd expect that maybe his numbers versus lefties are not going to be that good. That is not the case. Unbelievable numbers against lefties. So he would kind of fill the need of an extra lefty while also being able to mow down righties. Do you have any thoughts on this, Peter? He'd kind of act as like a Swiss Army knife in a way, and he'd be able to just handle both sides.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Everyone's been lobbying for a left-handed reliever out of the bullpen as well. But if you got a guy that can pitch well to lefties, just similar to Anthony Bass, who is very good against lefties as well, then it kind of solves your problem in a sense. And Scott Barlow doesn't necessarily fit the timeline of the Kansas City Royals right now. They don't have much room for a 30-year-old reliever that won't necessarily accelerate their rebuild. So it makes sense for them to go out and shop him. He's got value. He's a very good pitcher. But why do you need a shutdown arm in your bullpen if you're going to win around 60 to 70 games? So I think that's where the Royals are at right now, and they'd like to get some prospects in return, and we'll show you a couple of mock trades right now.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And like you said, they just traded Mondesi, so they're kind of on a fire sale. But let's get into the trade machine. It's been a while since we brought this out. We do it on live streams occasionally, but it's good to get to see it back in the video. So let's pop up the first one. We have 3 trades for you guys, involving 3 kind of different frameworks. So the first one here is Scott Barlow, Edward Olivares, and Parrish for Irv Carter and Aurelvis Martinez. So Peter, I'll get your I guess your quick thoughts on this trade. We also have one involving Biggio and Espinal as well. This is the more prospect-based one, fully prospect-based, and we'd have to give up a Relvis Martinez, which I know a lot of Blue Jays fans out there don't want to do. Obviously, you're not super high on him, Peter, because his ceiling. We have Addison Barger, but I don't know. It's a very interesting trade. The value lines up, a fair amount. I'm not entirely sure the Royals do this deal, though it's close. Who knows? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it fills a need for the Blue Jays. It fills two needs actually. So they get a bullpen arm and Edward Olivares, who is also probably going to be the fourth outfielder if he were to be packaged in that deal. And you give up a Relvis Martinez and Irv Carter, who kind of fit more of the timeline of the Kansas City Royals. Relvis Martinez got great power potential, still only 20 years old. I'm not too high on him just because of the strikeout numbers and the overall depth in the infield position in the Jays pipeline. So I think that's why Relvis Martinez is expendable. He's not as valuable as he once was a couple of years ago, but still could fetch you a pretty decent return in a trade. So I would definitely explore this if I were the Jays. I think the Royals might want another major league piece in return, though. I think they'd ask for a major leaguer as well.
I agree, and that's where we're gonna, I guess, great transition into the next trade, which is Biggio, Doughty, and Sam Roberts for Scott Barlow straight up. Now, Peter, you made this trade yourself, so I'll let you kind of take
Mhm.
over and discuss it a little bit. Obviously, the big piece prospect wise is Doughty, but Biggio obviously only a point 0.3 value according to this, but he would kind of be the major league piece that maybe the Royals think if given the playing time, he'll have the ability to do what he did in his, his rookie year and the year after, where he was a really, really good player. He still has the peripherals. He has a great eye. He
Yeah.
obviously hasn't hit the ball too well, but maybe, get him a change of scenery could unlock some of his untapped potential.
But if you give Biggio a chance to play every day, he's gonna get better. He's dealt with some injuries. He's been a little bit unlucky in his major league career, and unfortunately, he's just lost in the shuffle right now in Toronto. I don't see any scenario where he gets playing time. The Jays. I think Merrifield is way ahead of him. Santiago Espinal was an all-star last year. He's gonna play ahead of Kevin Biggio. And with the new shift rule, you don't want him playing in the outfield either because he's not a plus defender out there. So, where exactly is there space for Kevin Biggio? Maybe at first base if Vladdy gets hurt, but then you got Brandon Belt. So it's hard. It's really hard to envision a scenario in which he plays. So you're giving him up here. I thought he would have a lot more value on that trade simulator, but he doesn't. I had to look for him for quite a bit because I'm like, why is his value so low? Sam Roberts, very underrated prospect as well. He's pretty close to the major leagues, and Kansas City needs help in their rotation, and he would slot in perfectly in a couple years' time and fits their timeline as well. And K. Doughty, I spoke about it before. The depth that the Blue Jays have in their infield in the pipeline is just so deep, so they don't need to hang on to all of these third base and shortstop prospects.
Yeah, and we might have some future videos, going over a couple of these prospects, assuming they aren't traded. But I like this trade a lot. It's very, very, fair for both teams, and depending what the Royals are looking for there, we're only getting Barlos. We're not getting Olivares, which is a bit unfortunate, but we're also giving up a little bit less. And like you said, we'll have probably have another video discussing the whole Biggio versus Merrifield versus Espinal situation, because with the addition of Belt, there's really no at-bats to give Biggio anymore. So, I don't know. Be interesting. And the last trade we're going to go over quickly here is Barlow and Olivares for Espinal and Hayden Jenger. This has, us as a significant overpay from the Blue Jays. But again, this would kind of be, if you want to keep, one of our higher end prospects. Obviously, Hayden Jenger is still phenomenal. But I guess if you want to ride with Kevin Biggio, this is a potential option. Or maybe the Royals don't want Kevin Biggio, and this is the only trade that gets it done. Would you accept the deal if it was in this framework around Espinal, if it was the only way it gets done between us and the Royals?
I would not because I'm pretty high on Hayden Jenger myself. So I wouldn't necessarily do that if I'm the Toronto Blue Jays. I think if you do trade Kevin Biggio, that Addison Barger is ready to come up to the major leagues and take over that spot that he was going to play. So no, I don't do that trade if I'm the Jays because when Whit Merrifield leaves next year, when he's a free agent, who's your second baseman? Is Kevin Biggio going to be your everyday second baseman? Are you is Addison Barger necessarily ready to take over that role? I'm not quite sure. So I think Espinal is going to be the everyday guy if they don't re-sign Whit Merrifield. So no, I don't do that trade.
Yeah, I don't think I would do it in this framework either. Honestly, more so because of Hayden Jenger as opposed to Espinal. But let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on that, or if you would maybe do an Espinal for Barlow 1-for-1. I think that would be a bit more enticing, kind of stalls a need for each team. But let us know in the comments, and we'll get into this. We have a couple minor topics today to end the video. So Buck Martinez is officially returning to the booth. There was speculation at the start of the offseason that he wasn't, and then there was speculation that he was, and now it is confirmed that Buck Martinez will reportedly be back in the Blue Jays bullpen or broadcast booth for the 2023 season, not the bullpen. Unfortunately, would love to see him out in the bullpen, but do you have any quick thoughts on this? It's great to see Buck back. We kind of already knew this, but now it's officially, essentially confirmed. So it'll be him and Dan Shulman back there. I'm happy to see him back, and I guess he just keeps wanting to go for it.
Yeah. He loves it. He loves it, and I'm glad he's going to be back. Matt Bushman's gone, so the Jays need a bullpen coach. Maybe that's Buck Martinez when he decides to retire from the booth, or even a bullpen catcher. I'm sure he's still got it. He's still got it. But I'm glad to see Buck back. Him and Dan are an elite duo, and can't wait to hear them come opening day.
Yeah, especially in what's going to be a crazy season with lots of changes and stuff like that. It's I'm happy the icon of the broadcast booth for the Jays is going to be returning. So let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on that. I'm sure all you are excited for that. Final quick shout out to Scott Rowland for making the Hall of Fame. Peter, do you have any thoughts on that? Obviously not as a Blue Jay, but he made the Hall of Fame, so we figured we'd throw that in there. Just a little fun fact there at the end of the video.
Yeah, so towards the tail end of his career, he was on the Blue Jays for a couple of seasons, and that's actually when I really started to get into baseball. I'm a third baseman myself, so Scott Rowland was one of my favorite players alongside Roy Halladay, and I was so amazed by how amazing he was defensively, and now I look at the stats, and my eyes were telling me the truth. He was a stud out there, one of the best third basemen of all time, and very well deserved for Scott Rowland. Not necessarily not going to go in as a Blue Jay, obviously, probably as a Cardinal or as a Philly, but he was a great player in his time, and shout out to him.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to you guys for all the support that you've been giving us. I guess, again, we're on the road to 7K now. It's crazy we can even say that. And we're going to have some live streams coming up very, very soon. We've been pretty busy, so I haven't been able to do them as much, but we're going to get right back into those over the coming days. Make sure to hit subscribe button, like the video, and we'll see you guys in tomorrow's video.
Thanks.